Your host here, Chris Swick, from the depths of darkness to the light of success. Welcome to my podcast, guys. I got a guest here, Jessica Compton, the founder of Tria Stars. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself here, Jessica?
Yeah, thanks for having me. My name is Jessica Compton. I'm the founder of Tria Stars since April 2017, promoting mental health and addictions recovery through music and arts. Basically, I've been going around to different cafes and facilitating different workshops with journaling and music, and recently just bringing it all online to have musicians and artists go live and a couple speakers. I also promote other resources that have to do with any kind of wellness, self-care, and outreach. Lots of projects been going on in the last 3 years, collaboration with community and just all of that fun stuff. I'm additionally a full-time educational assistant for the last 8 years, and child and youth worker for 15 years. I finally, resigned from there last year, and I took a position at the after-school program with the YMCA as a supervisor. So I do work Monday to Friday, working 12 hours a day, but I really, really enjoy just, even with the after-school program, I get to dance with the kids and create art and have fun and play. So
Nice,
it's all a pretty good gig.
nice. So you said you're born and raised up in North Bay. How was that growing up?
I grew up on the Nipissing Reserve. I guess to go into my story of layers of trauma, I I was abused. I was abducted for a couple hours. I got into drugs. I was arrested 4 times on the streets, just in and out of custody. Even though I got charged 4 times, there's a bunch of times where they were pretty easy on me, but just not having any kind of parental like supports and being involved in broken systems, running away from foster home, and I guess I kind of around age 19 I got my stuff together. So yeah.
Nice. So how would you say your relationship was then with your family growing up? Or did you not really have a relationship with your immediate family?
Yeah, I when I was abducted and returned, I was mute for a couple of years, but I also started you know um these certain behaviors. I started setting fires, I started bedwetting, and I just so they with my behaviors, they put me into a foster home. I was abused in a foster home, and I kept running away, and then they put me in a group home, and then that involved there was, I guess, my relationships with anybody. I had a really hard time trusting anybody because everybody kept saying, trust me. And every time I went to go trust somebody, something would happen. So it was really, really hard for me to kind of build any rapport or relationships with anybody. Um, and also I've broken trust with individuals. I used to call my grandma and, harass her to give me some money for my next hit.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, as I'm older now, I've reestablished those relationships, and I've been forgiven in many ways. So
That's awesome. So, like, when about did you start getting into drugs? Like, what was that point that put you over the edge, that you found those drugs to give you that feeling of relief? When did you start
yeah,
using?
I started smoking cigarettes when I was about 12. I got into alcohol around age 13, 14. Smoking marijuana when I was 14, 15, and then going to parties and just, after a while, there was so many, you have so many beers or so many joints, and nothing's doing anything after. You want more. And the numbness of my layers of trauma, I embraced the drugs, where I was like, wow, this is awesome to escape all the things, that were emotionally or mentally in my head. It was just every time I went to go use, sometimes I didn't have any money for drugs. So I would stay up for 2 days, 3 days. I was walking around at 115 pounds. Um, yeah, just doing mushrooms, LSD, beans, anything that I could get my hands on, even mixing prescription with alcohol, getting any kind of buzz. I've had, yeah, situations where many times waking up and going, oh my gosh, where am I? And, hitchhiking and just getting into trouble. So I think like wherever I went, whatever I could get my hands on to numb my trauma.
Yeah. So what was it like growing up with parents, both of them in full-blown addiction? Like, is that where it all started for you, or was it beyond that? Um,
So my parents, they were married and they split when my sister and I were 3 years old, and my mom was definitely into drugs and alcohol, having different men come in and out of the house. So my sister and I, we were about 4 years old when the police came in to our household, and there was furniture knocked all over the place, beer bottles smashed, and we were underneath the bed, and the police officer looked underneath the bed and found my sister and I. So we were put into a police car and put into foster care at age 4. So
oh wow,
um,
that really
that
must
was
have
in,
fucked with your head and stuff then.
yeah, it was just like, so it was a court order that my sister and I could never live with my mom. And it was all supervised visits when she was around,
Yeah,
living with my dad and a new wife, going from a whole different culture, being on the reserve and going to powwows and understanding like their culture and beliefs, and then also going to a Catholic school. So it was definitely like being, shifted with a like things that I did not understand. I was only 4 years old, right? So
yeah, that's crazy. So, and how did the sexual abuse that you endured as a child play with your psyche and your mental health and stuff like that?
yeah, so I actually identify as lesbian, and I am a
Okay.
lesbian by choice. And I think that even just with my past of being molested and being raped and being abducted and sexually assaulted from age 7 to all the way up to age 19. So it's just like I said, even in the foster care system, the foster dad, he used to do stuff to me. So I think with me, I was married to a guy, and I also feel safe on this side of the rainbow.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough.
So if I'm gonna add a little bit of humor in here and break the ice, so yeah, I mean, I've had a trust issue with men, and
Okay,
I've been to many years of therapy, and I feel comfortable where I'm at with my sexual identity. But again, and
that's
I'm
amazing.
fully exposed to say, like, you know what, this is my choice, and this is where I feel happy. So
And we're all entitled to our choices, so
yeah.
that's awesome. So, what is below rock bottom? I remember reading an article there, having hit several rock bottoms over my time. I don't think I've ever been below rock bottom personally. So, can you maybe explain a little more on that?
Yeah, so I think at such a young age, I never knew what rock bottom was, but every time I hit like a really low part of my life, if it was sleeping in Salvation Army bins, if it was, picking out of Tim Hortons garbage bins for donuts, if it was, getting hitchhike rides and bumming cigarettes and whatever you call all of those layers of trauma. And I think
Yeah,
that every time I hit a rock bottom and then things got better and then I hit another rock bottom, it was like, whoa. So I think like when I'm looking at layers of trauma, and I like to say it that way because every time I thought like I was going to give up and, I'm standing at a bridge going, okay, I'm ready to jump today because this is it. And then, there was something that the little bit of light left inside me said, you know what, like you can do this, you can keep going. So, and one thing that I always carried around with me was a journal. So even just, writing all my feelings and thoughts down, and just knowing that, and I always think this too, is that, you know what, maybe something in the future is going to happen where if somebody's going to pass away and I'm going to have to deal with it. I think that I've turned that rock bottom into a Ferris wheel. And the Ferris wheel,
nice.
we go up and we go down, and we go up. And it's how we deal with it at that time, right?
That's a good analogy. I've never heard that one before. I usually use the roller coaster, but
Roller coaster at that too.
yeah, yeah.
They're both at the same festival.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. So, have you always been up? Was all this happening all up in the North Bay area then, or were you all over Ontario? Or
Yeah, I was in different areas. So when I got arrested, they transported me to Sturgeon Falls. Then I escaped custody and I assaulted a police officer, and they transported me to Sudbury. Then they transported me again. It was a court order that I go to rehab. So they transported me over to Guelph. Then there was a probation order that I resigned with an aunt in Stony Creek. So I was all over the place,
oh wow,
anywhere from Niagara Falls all the way up to Sudbury. So sometimes I even got transported into a vehicle that was like a tinted van, and I was in handcuffs where I had no idea where I was going. And six
yeah,
hours later, it's like, where am I? I'm in the middle of nowhere. So yeah.
yeah. I've been down those roads before myself. So what was it like living incarcerated, and what types of crimes were you committing?
Yeah, so my first, I mean, for the ones that I got caught for, um, I stole the car, I assaulted a police officer, I escaped custody, and I set some fires. So, in aspects of this, every time I was arrested, I was, on many different drugs, and yeah, even while I was in custody, trying to. I guess you could say when people say sitting in your head, like when you're arrested and you're sitting in a cell, you're definitely inside your head. I went through a lot of withdrawal and just I was really sick. So every time I came out of custody, I was well taken care of. So I have to thank the correctional system for uh, sending me away every time, because going in at 115 and feeling really sick and not even sure when the last time, like if it was 4 days that I had a shower, like just getting clean again. So I send it out there saying thank you so much for arresting me and taking care of me.
Nice, nice. So what have you done then over the years now to cope with all this in a positive way? Like what are a few things that you do to cope and like get through life now and stuff like that on life's terms?
Yeah, so again, I've always carried a journal around with me. It's part of
Yeah,
my therapies where I had mandatory therapy, I had mandatory, drug counseling and AA meetings and things like that. So I've had a lot of solid therapists that I've met that really tried to enhance my creativity side. So if it's writing poetry, listening to music, trying to make music, rapping out some stuff, or if it's getting involved in community events. So yeah, just the whole self-care aspect. And I think just checking in with I do take medication for ADHD, so
yeah,
just checking in on all my self-care remedies to make sure that I'm doing okay. So that's self-check-in.
yeah, yeah. Do you
um,
like write down a list every day and like sort of check it off, or do you just do it mentally in your head?
you know what? It's in the mood of. So if I'm
Yeah.
feeling like picking up my guitar, or if I feel like taking a walk in nature, if I feel like taking a hot bath times three in one day, if I'm having any kind of anxiety. So it really is in the
Nice.
mood of what do I need right now?
Yeah,
And if that's just doing nothing, then that's okay.
yeah. So tell us this, if there was one thing you would do different again, what would it be and why?
Oh, I would have to say that I've let go a lot of like relationships with individuals that I've been in, serious, you know, just the hardship of me giving up so easily. So I think that if I were to go back, I have no regrets, but I do have that feeling of like I could have probably tried a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Because when you're in this world of like, it's hard to trust people, it's like to give it your all maybe looks at, for me, 80%. So I think if I were to go back in time, just giving relationships 100% instead of 80%, because I have a hard time trusting.
Okay, and you still have a hard time trusting to this day?
I think I'm at 95%.
Okay, fair enough. You still have
I'm
that
getting
little
there.
with like men though in particular. Is that what it is with the trust issue?
Yeah, you know what? Nowadays I've got a lot of good relationships and friendships that I've and definitely embraced in different ways, but I'm still cautious, and I have this thing
Yeah.
in my cell phone where it's an A list, a B list, and a Z list. So I really, the
Is
people that check in
is
with me and that care, yeah,
they get
it's my list too on my phone. It's like that Ferris wheel. I'm like, you know
oh,
what?
okay.
I just caught you in a lie. You're going to my Z list.
Nice, nice. So
So,
I never. I'm gonna have to actually look into that. That's a good idea.
yep, if it's 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm
Did
upset,
you
I
come
look
up
at
with
my
that
A
on your own?
list. I have, yes,
Nice,
and it
nice.
and it works in a solid manner for myself.
So like, does it when it pops up? Does it like, hey, this one's on the A list, the Z
Yep.
list, or
Yeah,
nice.
and even when I meet people, I introduce this piece to them, and they're like, "Oh, interesting." And it is really interesting. If you have 200 people in your cell phone,
For
and
sure.
you only trust 5 people, then why aren't they at the top of your list?
Yeah, yeah, no, that's for sure. That's a great idea. I'm gonna have to look into that or think about doing that myself. So, 21 short films, eh? That's crazy. So, tell us maybe a little bit about those. Like, how did you get involved with those?
Yeah, so Just within the last 3 years, just going around to different cafes, meeting people at different music and arts events. I ran into a student when I was at a gallery, and she had approached me and said, like, I have checked out Tria Stars, and I would really like to do a mini documentary on your story and what you do out in the community. And I said, sure, why not? So she said, in the midst of that, they have to present a presentation to their teacher to see
Okay,
if
so this is a college student.
yeah.
Nice,
So they got the grant and they followed me around for 4 days, and they made a mini documentary. It went all the way to Portugal and won like a film fest. And it's not
nice.
my film, but it's my story. So I don't own it.
Yeah,
And
yeah, but that's amazing. Can anyone check that out online somewhere? Is it on YouTube or?
yeah, the review of it is on my Tria Stars on Tour Instagram. There's a link in my bio there. So
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah.
All right.
And there is an upcoming mini documentary. I just signed some papers. I actually there was some students that created a play with my life story, and there was
Nice.
a
Where are they
producer
from?
there.
What school are they from, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah. So the first documentary was from Humber College, and then this time around it was McMaster students. So
Nice.
um, getting involved in the community and connecting with people, those are the areas where, like, if you want to go collaborate, like, it really is diving into community events and going
For sure,
supporting
for
other
sure.
people.
Is there any other community events and stuff that you're a part of? Like was reading too, like you were a part of the movement for the homeless and stuff. What's that all about?
Yeah, so there's a place called the Youth Wellness Center in Hamilton, and one of the things I did was I created a charity album, and I had 13 female musicians lend me a song. I sent all the songs to a mastering studio in Toronto, and then an album, and we gave all the funds 100% to the Youth Wellness Center in Hamilton. So just helping youth and homeless, and also just doing outreach once a month. Last year I used to go out into the community and just drive around and hand out bottles of water to people in alleyways, and just going and giving hugs. And yeah, just a lot of stuff going on, and it's good stuff. It is.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So that's mostly in the Hamilton area. That's where you live now, it sounds like.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
nice.
Hamilton. I've done a little bit of outreach in Niagara Falls. Yeah, just all over really.
Nice, nice. So I think we touched on a little bit, but you want to tell the audience again about a little bit more about Tria Star. So what is it really about? Like, so like you go out, help the community, like you reach out, like you're doing your thing on Instagram Live daily now, it seems like. So I was a part
Yeah.
of it last week. So
Yeah, so currently, since all this, this is, I call it, a world lockdown has happened. I've brought some different, musicians and artists on an online platform, but also, again, in the past, I've always promoted other resources, but also individuals sharing their stories, coming onto the platform and just being themselves, and shining light on different remedies that we can exchange for each other. So a lot of musicians, right now, their biggest barrier right now is they're so used to gigging that they have no idea how to, navigate social media. So I'm coaching a good 7 musicians right now on how to build
nice.
their platforms.
That is
So
amazing.
yeah, it's come to a different level with Tria Stars, and I'm actually really enjoying the fact that I don't have to drive around.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. You can do it all from the comfort of your bedroom, your
Yes.
backyard, or wherever you are, sort of thing, by yourself now. It's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
same with
loving it.
myself. Like, as a full-time car salesman and stuff like that, but I had to figure out, I was great at self-isolating and active addiction myself. So I was like, well, I got to I can be productive, I just got to be productive in a positive way though. So, and that's why I decided to start this podcast and stuff. And it's just been amazing, the support I've had too myself. So, you have a love for photography too. Like, how long have you been doing that? What inspired you to get into that? Like, was that
Yeah.
after or before?
So my Tria Stars logo is actually a photo. It's a vector style. So I went out 3 years ago, and I took a picture, and I've always taken random pictures. I've taken photography in high school, and I've always
Yeah.
loved to take photos, but more or less like abandoned places, if it's alleyways, anything like that. But this tree that I took a picture of, I've sold 27 canvas pieces.
Nice.
I
So you
mainly
do
do it
the
for,
art for it too
so there was a
on the
place that
canvas?
So Sealed Arts in Hamilton. I just place
Okay.
an order when somebody wants to place an order, but I have another page, Lost in the Lens, Found in the Moment, and it's honestly just for hobby, but and for my self therapy. I'll go to like just different places and take photos, and do it for my own. But there is one piece that I do sell, and that is the one on the canvas. So any kind of monies I get from the photography canvas prints, it goes to Tria Stars. So if that's me meeting up with somebody in a cafe, buying the coffee or paying for parking, every little bit helps. So
Nice.
trying to
That's
utilize that.
amazing. That's awesome. So what's it like now being a child and youth worker down in Hamilton there? Did you really enjoy it?
Yeah, for 15 years, I worked 7 on, 7 off. For
Oh
15
wow.
years, I worked with 10 aggressive boys in a group home out in the middle of the country,
Yeah.
and I've also worked with some teenage girls as well, and just dealing with. I really, really love the fact that I could be a voice and advocate for individuals that don't even know that they have a voice. Also, really, really listening to them and what they think they need or want at that time.
Yeah,
So,
just be a listening ear. That's all some of them want.
a buddy system.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you relate with them?
I've seen a lot of individuals come in with different events of trauma, and yielding into addiction, and just getting them the supports that they need. So when we do an intake with individuals, just assessing all different areas: emotional, physical, if they've got, if they need medications, going to court, if it's family visits, all that stuff. But I resigned a year ago, so
Oh,
I
okay.
do. I work in the school now for the last 8 years. So um,
And
I
that's the
was
school
working in
board in Hamilton or somewhere else?
yeah,
Yeah.
Hamilton Wentworth District School Board. So I've
Nice.
been
And what are you doing there?
educational assistant, just
Okay.
running after kids in the hallway.
Just keeping them in line, eh?
I call it not Paw Patrol, it's hallway patrol.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about Voices Against Bullying?
Yeah, so
That
I
that
got a
that
part
looked
of
really amazing when I was intrigued by that.
yeah, it's been so I used to be a bully myself, and it was me going through my own shit, excuse the
It's funny.
language, but
I think all of us have been a bully in one way or another growing up, to be honest, and we've been
yeah.
bullied. I personally believe that. So
Well, and I look at it like I used to spit on kids. I used to like run in a puddle and wreck their new outfit. I used to get pissed off seeing like kids being dropped off and being, hugged and kissed by their parents, saying "Have a good day" because I didn't have those.
yeah, so that was
Stealing
you acting
lunches.
out.
Absolutely. So here's the thing: is with Voices Against Bullying, I started I'm on the steering committee since December, and just really, it's kind of like a family committee where we
Okay,
just reach out to different parents and students, and there's a lot of good things happening. We were just in the Maclean's magazine,
nice.
where we've got a bullying specialist on our committee. So there's a lot of really good things, and honestly, if I spend like 3 hours a month on helping out, victims and bullies, then that's me sharing, any kind of resources that I have to help out as
So
many
how
people
would
as I can.
someone become involved with Voice Against Bullying if they want to? Could you let the audience know if they wanted to or something? Just
Yeah,
in
so
case,
there's
like
a
myself.
yeah, well there's a Facebook group, Voices
Okay.
Against Bullying. There's a Twitter, Voices Against Bullying. There's mainly on, like, there's another one on Instagram. So there's 11 of us, I think, on the committee, and we all
Okay.
just work together.
And is this based out of Hamilton or Toronto or
Waterdown in
Waterdown?
Hamilton
Okay.
area, yeah.
Yeah, it's just something that's not talked about, like lots of things, especially kids at young ages now, like the things that are doing to other kids, and the ramifications that are happening, it's pretty heartbreaking, when you see these younger ones committing suicide now because of a bully and stuff like that. And lots of online bullying too now.
Yeah, and I think the remedies behind that would be, and I love using that word, I'll probably say it 100 times, remedies, because it is a resource of in different aspects. But I think, like, when we're looking at individuals as young as 9 years old, taking their lives because they're induced in other people's behaviors, my question is, where's the resources for the bully? Why are
exactly.
they allowed to keep bullying? And where's, if we do like a survey to say, okay, well, the bullying is happening over here in the hallway, then why are they not increasing the security of that area? Like,
No, it's
when
so
is it
true.
happening, and why are we not doing more to have, high supervision, right? um
There's
yeah,
funding that lacks everywhere, I think, personally.
I call it broken systems, and it's been
Yeah,
going on for way too long.
it has been for sure, for sure. It's broken systems everywhere down the line, in my opinion. Like,
Worldwide.
exactly. There's not much we can do to change it, especially at this time. And with all this going on, they're putting all their focus on the COVID-19, and lots of other things are happening that no one knows about again.
Yep. I day by day, day by
That's
day.
that's all you can do, one day at a time. So how
Yeah.
you coping though right now, like with this whole COVID-19 and stuff like that?
I'm
Like, are you doing lots of isolating in a good way, bad way? Like,
yeah, so I've been given this kind of opportunity to come up north for March break, and I end up just staying up here with my family. So as a single person, it's really nice to sit down with family every day and have a dinner conversation. I'm also in the middle of the woods, so I'm living right across the street from a lake. I'm surrounded by
nice.
trees that I'm hugging every day. um, I kind of, even just with like, I've been building calluses on my guitar, just really, really embracing all my creativity side, and just writing every day, meeting new people at 3 o'clock every day and 7 o'clock every day on my platform for Instagram, and just enjoying painting. I've painted probably like a good 6 pieces already, where I've like
Nice.
splatted them on my walls. So
So are they
I'm
are they just your personal pieces, or will you be selling those?
no, I just paint for myself. It's like the photography stuff. Honestly,
Yeah.
like, I get this like attachment with stuff, so it's
You're
just for
not letting
me.
it go. Well, except for
No.
your Tree of Stars thing.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the original, and everything else I've got the original, and then everything else is sold. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just do it for myself. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So I do have also, I call it the 5 questions of fire. So it's
Okay.
5 random questions. All right. So you ready?
Yeah.
So what's your go-to order at your favorite hometown restaurant?
Oh, I would have to say so in Hamilton there's a place called Bedrock Bistro. And I'll tell you, I've been going there for years. They still give the same portions for the same price, and I've never found any hair in my food. So
Nice.
that is the bomb place.
And what do you order there usually, or is it different every time? What's your
I try
go-to?
yeah, I'd have to say the buffalo chicken fingers and the fries with a nice thick gravy.
Keep it simple, eh?
Yeah.
uh, what do you wish you had known when you first started out? Like maybe in your career and stuff like that you know today, but you wish you would have known back then.
Yeah, I look at like how much of a problem child I was. And then when I yielded into the field of working with kids, I was like, payback's happening right now. I realized when I started working with kids, I'm like, man, I was a pain in the ass.
Yeah. So was I growing up, and then I have 2 of my own now too.
Yeah, it's just
Then my
like, man, if
my
I would have
parents just
known.
say, that's your problem now. We're just the grandparents.
Yeah.
So what are you curious about right now in this instant?
I think it's the the unknown of like when like yesterday I wrote a poem piece on the unknown of like when is the isolation gonna stop.
Would you mind sharing that with us?
Sure. It's actually on my audio podcast. You can
Oh,
find
is
it
it?
on
Okay.
Spotify too. It's
Oh, where
one
is it?
minute.
So what is it? What's your
It's
name on Spotify? Then the fans and the audience can go
yeah,
listen.
Tree of Stars. I'm on my 4th episode, and it's all
Okay.
random stuff. I talk about my ADHD and doing groceries, which is ridiculous. Um,
I remember that
random,
conversation we had there the other week.
yeah, like it's just groceries are just not my thing.
No, you don't
I
like it,
get
eh?
I go in with a list and I get so distracted and I'm
Then
just
you come
all
out
over
with a
the place.
shitload more, eh?
No, I'm like, look at the damage.
What is something you failed at?
So I think like when I graduated college to be a correctional officer to work in jails and stuff, I went and I took the government test like 3 times, and then by the fourth time I finally passed it. But I
Yeah.
think with my ADHD, the guy behind me kept like flicking his pen and making noise, and like I was just so distracted. But by the fourth round, I finally passed it, and then at the end I was like, I don't even want to do this.
Oh wow. Why didn't you want to do it at then after finally passing? What was it?
Uh, my one of my uncles, he's a homicide officer, and he just
Oh,
really
okay.
said like, when you get involved with corrections, they can also ship you out anywhere. So if you're in different security prisons, and
Yeah.
so you sign up, you can put the offer in to say I want to work here, here, here,
Yeah.
but they can ultimately just send you anywhere.
Yeah. Well, that's crazy. I didn't even realize that myself. Huh. So, is there anything I should have asked you but didn't?
Oh, you know what? I really feel that you're a pretty organic guy, and I'm really excited that we got connected. And I honestly like. I think I feel like these organic conversations are from people that legit care. And I really believe that what you're doing is awesome. And I just thank the universe for this organic connection.
Sweet. Thank you. I appreciate that. You want to share with the audience too your social media pages where they can find you on social media?
Yeah, so on Facebook, Tria Stars, and then Instagram, Tria Stars on Tour. I have a YouTube, not really active on there. It's more to share like the community events, like me hugging people and things like that. But I'm mainly 60%, 70%. I'm on Instagram, Tria Stars on Tour.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then you're not on Facebook either for True Stars, you are or no?
I am, but
Okay.
right now I'm mainly on Instagram. But I
Okay.
do
Okay.
share my same posts. They feed over to
Yeah,
the page. But yeah,
they're owned by the same people, so.
yeah. Yeah, good old Mark.
Yeah. So, do you have any plans for the rest of your week, day?
Yeah, so I mean, every day at 3 o'clock and every day at 7. I'm booked up to the end of May just to kind
That's
of meet people
amazing.
online. Yeah,
Nice.
60 days of music.
Nice. Yeah. So, guys, go check out Tria Stars on Tour at Instagram. She's live every day at 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. Great artists on there. I've watched a bunch of them, and a few of my friends have been on there. So, yeah, and myself as well. So, thanks again for tuning in, guys. And it was a great episode. Thanks again, Jessica.
Thank you, Chris.